Hey guys, I think we're live. That worked out pretty well. Hey guys, I'm Jim Gast, and this is No Law Firm Left Behind. We're joined today again this week with, I think we got all three of us here, which is kind of we had the whole crew last week, didn't we? That worked out pretty well. Hey guys, I'm Jim Gast, and this is No Law. Well, that shouldn't, you don't want to hear that, people, do you? Oh, I guess it didn't work out so well after all. Anyway, how you doing, Dave? How you doing, Vinny?
Can't complain, man.
Right.
Just hanging in there, battling a little bit of a something. So I'm a little slow today. But
did you guys battle snow like I did this morning?
I enjoyed the snow.
Or something.
My back is killing me from all this shoveling, man. 3 days of shoveling. I think we're gonna have to shovel some more tomorrow.
I think you're doing it all wrong.
You just have some high school kid do it, right?
Well, don't you have two high schoolers?
Yeah, I got a junior high schooler living here, and I got a high schooler living here, and I got a college kid, but he's 7 hours away. So
I sent my 11-year-old and 8-year-old daughter out to shovel the snow.
Wow. Dave, you're blurry. You got a low bandwidth or something going on today?
No, not at all.
Does he look blurry to you, Vinny?
He looks kind of okay.
Okay.
My internet's a little wonky today, so hopefully it will be okay throughout the whole show.
Such is the way it is with the internet today. Well, listen, this is No Law Firm Left Behind. Again, I'm Jim. That's Dave, and that's Vinny there. And the reason we come here, Vinny, is you want to tell everybody why we're here?
Yeah. So No Law Firm Left Behind was started before the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, to ensure that, we're not, that law firms can stay competitive. They can keep their clients calling and people can stay productive. And we decided to keep it going because these are relevant topics even after the pandemic.
Yeah, I think we're on like our 60th, 50th. I forget the number. We're in the 50s or 60s, if I'm not mistaken, guys. Believe it or not.
Got some people saying hi. Hi, James, Clark, Elena.
Oh.
Glad to have you tune in.
I didn't even see the chat there. Thanks for catching that. Well, listen, Dave, you want to tell them about that wonderful little QR code right there next to your head? Tell them what that is.
So right up next to me is our Linktree QR code. And basically, if you just take a picture of that with your phone, most phones are smart enough to know what to do with it. It'll give you the ability to start following us on any of the multiple platforms that we're available, Spotify, the iTunes Store, Pandora. There's a whole bunch of them now. Jim can give you the full list.
Oh, but gosh.
You click on that, you can get the whole shebang from there.
Yeah, if you don't know how to do that, get that QR code, don't know how to use one of them, you just bring up the camera on your phone. You don't even have to click on anything. You just point it at it, and it'll recognize it, and it'll go to the actual website. So also, if you're not a part of the No Law Firm Left Behind group on LinkedIn, there's the link. Sorry, it's not pretty, but that's what LinkedIn gives us. If you can't remember those numbers, that's fine. It is on the QR code, so you can go to the QR code and actually that link tree and find it from there. Also, if you go to LinkedIn and do a search for No Law Firm Left Behind, you'll see it there. So, Dave, you want to tell everybody why we're here today, what we're doing, what we're talking about?
One of the things that we've talked about multiple times in the past is Microsoft Teams, and it's become part of the everyday vernacular. Anymore you hear two things. You hear Teams, you hear Zoom. That's what you hear. That's how everybody's meeting these days. One of those two ways. I find myself on Teams meetings and Zoom meetings all day, every day.
They become verbs actually today.
Yeah, I mean,
Excuse me.
And it just becomes such a part of how we work that we've done several episodes now on different Teams features. And this is just the next in that series. There's been some really cool new features that have come out in Teams, and we just wanted to go ahead and put it out there so that folks can see, what's new, and maybe it'll help you out.
Yeah. Got a few people on here, Dave. Hey guys, thanks for joining. Just wanted to kind of give you a quick shout out. So Dave, I think you've got the first part, don't you? I think we're gonna dive right into the meat and potatoes of it. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say, give me 1 second. My phone was about to be really obnoxious, so let me silent that.
Well, that's okay.
My apologies there. So one of the things, and I was so excited about this, 5 second backstory. I also teach, and so I have classes with anywhere from 15 to 25 students, and one of the things that I really, really wanted was a way to work in small groups. And I also started realizing, hey, it would be great to be able to work in small groups in a lot of these larger meetings that I've been in on Teams. And there were always a number of clunky workaround ways to do that. But finally, we now have breakout rooms available in Microsoft Teams. And I think that breakout rooms are just so important that that's really what I'm going to focus on today. It's just going.
So what exactly is a breakout room for people?
Say again?
Tell us what a breakout room is. Help
so
us
think about yourself at a conference, okay? When you go to back in the day when we actually used to go places together in person, and we would all sit in a great big room and listen to somebody boring talk at us, and then we would, eventually get out of that great big rooms before we all fell asleep, and then we would go into the small rooms where we'd actually have productive conversation.
I was one of the great big room boring speakers, and so were you.
Usually it was me, so I'm allowed to say that. And so what happens is that at any conference you've got your large groups, and then you got your small groups for people that are interested in particular things, subsections, sub-interests, etc. And you get a lot more interaction in those small groups where you might have anywhere from 5 to 10 people in a room instead of 100. Well, what breakout rooms does in the Teams environment is that same thing. It takes all the members of a large Teams meeting and allows you to, on the fly, split them out into smaller groups.
Yep.
So, Dave, let me ask you a related question then. How does that benefit a law firm?
So it benefits a law firm a number of different ways. So let's just take a couple hypotheticals. Let's say you're having a large client meeting, okay, with a single client. You might have multiple key players, different stakeholders that might have different interests. You might bring everybody together at the beginning, but then certain people want to go off and discuss certain subtopics without, polluting what everybody else is talking about. You don't want to be talking on top of everybody else, okay? So you could have, stakeholders A, B, and C split off into one breakout room to discuss whatever their topics are. D, E, and F go into another. G, H, and I go into another. They all do their thing, and then you come back at the end and share your findings. You could have a lot of different variants of that. If you've got all something inter-firm, you could have different, you could have like a partnership meeting, and then within the partnership meeting, you could have different committees within the partnership that break off into different subgroups and discuss their things and come back into a partnership meeting. If you had multiple entities working together, you could have different members from each entity go off into as well. There's so many different permutations.
Mediations.
Yep. Does the organizer of the meeting get to hear what's going on in the break rooms?
I will show you how that works. The answer is yes.
Let's get to it. Dave, you ready?
Right.
Yep. Now, obviously, we've only got two. Well, myself as the organizer and 2 other people. So we've only got a couple of. I'm limited somewhat in how I can show it, but you should also get the gist of how this can be super useful. So, let me just make sure, Jim. I obviously can see my screen full screen. And
yeah. I'm going to get rid of that QR code. Let me drop that graphic off the screen real quick, so a little bit more realistic.
Now we can see your tree better.
There you go. So that's Dave's screen showing me through Teams.
Okay, great.
And so if I were to, Vinny, I'm gonna actually drop me and you and let Dave focus. Okay. I can see you. So raise your hand if you want to add something. Okay, Vinny?
Hey, Dave, Elena is asking for the breakout groups. Is it a random selection or can you pick the groups?
Great question. Answers both. I'll show you how.
All right. So I'm going to drop myself. Dave, you can see us on Teams. We'll raise our hand.
I am just looking at Teams. That's all I'm focusing on right now. So if you do need something, just shout out, okay? Because I'm really focusing on the breakout room piece right now, all right? So what you're going to notice is I'm in a Teams meeting. We've all seen this before. We all know our little icons up here at the top. The new icon that we care about is this guy right here, the little square that's part of the bigger square called Breakout Rooms, okay? This is Jim, I see your mouth moving, but I don't hear anything being said.
You can't make it any bigger, but we can see it there, Dave.
Okay, great. So this button right here, if I hover over it, you'll see it says Breakout Rooms, and this is where it all starts from. So right now, what you need to understand is that we've got myself, Jim, and Vinny in a meeting. Now, I organized the meeting, so I see the option to create the breakout rooms.
You're the only one.
Correct. Jim and Vinny would not see this option. Okay, only the organizer gets the option to create the breakout rooms. You will also see when I go in here that it will show 2 attendees, even though there are 3 of us, because it does not include the organizer. So when I click on breakout rooms, this is where we get our option to do our initial setup. The first thing it'll ask you is, how many rooms do you want? We could create, up to 50 breakout rooms. And depending on the number of rooms we choose, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 1 for now. We can decide, do we want to assign people automatically, or do we want to manually assign
Which
people?
is automatically is randomly, correct?
Correct. It will randomly do it. Now, let's just, if you notice here, when I say automatically, it'll assign 2 people to 1 room, 2 per room. We know who's going to go into those rooms, so there's no real point in doing that. If I was going to go and create 2 rooms, you'll notice that this option changes, and it now says it'll assign 2 people to 2 rooms, 1 per room. Now, given the fact that we've only got Jim and Vinny right here, neither one of these are going to be very exciting options. So I'm going to skip the automatic assignment. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create 2 rooms. And I'm going to manually assign people. Okay? I'm going to create.
That means you're manually assigning the people to the rooms.
I'm going to manually assign the people to the room. Yes. It's now going through, and Teams is creating temporary subspaces that my main room attendees will ultimately get sent into. Now, notice nothing has changed. Jim, you're still in the main meeting. Vinny, he's still in the main meeting. Nothing has changed. Right, but on my side, I have this new panel on the right-hand side that says Breakout Rooms. Now, Jim, Vinny, they don't see any of this. This is just the organizer.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because I said manual assignment, I have to go through and say assign participants. And I can select 1 or more people. And I can assign them to a particular room. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to assign Jim to room 1. So I've got Jim selected and I say assign. And it says, where do I want to assign him to? I'm going to assign him to room 1. Now, notice he disappears from the unassigned list. Vinny's still there. I check Vinny. I assign him room 2. Now they're all gone. Great. I now have Jim in room 1, Vinny in room 2. You'll notice that both these...
One quick question. If other people jump in on this meeting, let's say somebody's late, you can still add them after the fact to the group.
If somebody jumps in after the fact, they will show up in the assigned participants panel. So I have this happen all the time. If I have somebody late to a class and breakout rooms have started, or if I have someone late to a meeting and I've already broken into small groups, somebody will jump in. They'll show up in the assigned participants. I can go ahead, check them, and add them to any of the existing rooms, even if I had automatically assigned the participants to start. So let's say I automatically assign everybody that's there. It'll auto-populate those rooms as close to even as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But then if somebody jumps in after the fact, I do have to go in and say, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and assign this person to this room. Let's even say it automatically assigns someone to a room, and I go, ooh, it automatically assigned Jim to work with Vinny, and they don't get along, and I know that, and I really don't like that assignment. True. I can go ahead and I can check somebody, and I can assign them to a different room.
That's nice.
Or I can even remove them from a room. So even if you use the automatic assignment, you've still got some flexibility to edit that after the fact, okay?
All right.
I'm going to
if someone drops out, if someone's disconnects.
Yep, I will show you that option as well when we get there, okay?
All right, great.
So Dave, what you're going to do is you're going to start the rooms.
So I want to explain what's going to happen here because, we're all still going to be communicating through the restream, all right? But what I'm looking at right now, what you're seeing on my screen, you're going to see Jim and Vinny both disappear.
So,
Because
and
what
I
you're
brought up
seeing on my screen is the main meeting room. All I've done is I've assigned participants to the breakout rooms, but the breakout rooms themselves they're not in use yet. You'll notice they still have closed status. See that closed? I still have to go and actually start the rooms. Now, what's nice about breakout rooms, and this is what's a huge improvement, is once I start room, it's going to automatically take everybody from my main meeting, pull them out of the main meeting, and dump them into their respective breakout rooms. Nobody has to do anything. It just puts them there.
Let's go ahead and show it.
So that's great that you can set up the rooms ahead of time so that people are not waiting as they are trying to break up into the groups.
Correct. So basically, you could go through and have everything set up. You can tweak who you want in any rooms. If you know that there's some people that don't work well together, or you know that there are some people that really do work well together, and you want to make sure that they are not or are in a room together, you can have all that set up. And then you go, all right, folks, hey, I'm going to start the breakout rooms. I'm going to end it at this particular time. And then once I've got all the assignments made, I'm going to say start rooms, and then watch what happens in my main room.
Can I ask one more question about assignments?
Yes, this is opening right now. You'll notice the status is opening, and it's going to
so
teams.
So one more question on assignments.
My screen, just so everyone knows. Right over here, that's my screen, so you can kind of see what's going on.
All right. So one more question on assignments. Can you assign based on the meeting invites before the meeting starts?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't believe that feature exists yet.
Okay.
And we're taking up a lot of bandwidth here by doing both Teams and our Restream, which is the platform used for live streaming. So this could take a minute or so.
It might.
But
it also takes a few as people dump off and whatnot. So
yeah, she's not cooperating. It's a wonderful feature that's not cooperating with us.
I just got moved into the room.
Did you?
It gave me a message that says, gave me a message that said, hey, you're going to be moved in 10 seconds. And then it moved me.
Did you start my room, Dave? I think you
I did. You probably, I guess I might have lied. I've always been the organizer. Apparently it does pop up with something to the users. I apologize for the misinformation there.
So I've just put up on my screen. On the screen, I've just put up on the screen my break. I've just now said I will be automatically moved into the breakout session. That's my session.
Got it. So
and now
correction to what I said earlier. The attendees do get notified that they're getting moved into it. So now, if you look at my screen, hi, it's just me. Jim and Vinny are gone.
Let me hide this so everybody can see down.
If you look over on the right hand, you'll see that the breakout rooms are both now open. Okay. That means that the breakout rooms have been created. The individual people have been moved into those breakout rooms, and now they can go and interact with each other. They're not, Vinny is not being bothered by what Jim is saying for once in our lives. And Jim's not being bothered by what Vinny's saying bad about Jim. Okay.
Hey, Dave, I'm going to interrupt you a second. Mm-hmm. Elena was asking what was my question. My question was, can I set up the meeting rooms before the Teams meeting starts? And the answer is
yeah.
No, you have to have your attendees in there in order to generate the breakout rooms.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Hope that helped, Elena.
Now, no, listen. This is one of these features that's being actively developed. So if by the end of this podcast, don't be surprised that the feature exists. But, I'm sure it's coming. As of right now, I'm unaware of the ability to assign to breakout rooms until the meeting has begun.
And Elena had another question earlier that we missed. She said, is random selection or can you pick the groups? You make the groups, Elena. Well, you tell how many teams
I showed that. You can choose the automatic, which would be random, or you can manually assign. And then, of course, if you automatic, you can actually tweak that after the fact.
So let me just say, it's kind of like my wedding reception dinner where everybody sat at the tables and you didn't want this cousin sitting next to this cousin because you knew it would turn into a fight. Don't worry. You can definitely rearrange who goes into what before the meeting is in progress, before you actually split the rooms. And David said, if somebody's in one of the breakout rooms that probably shouldn't, you can easily slide them out of that breakout room into another breakout room.
Yep. So now let's look at a couple of the options once we've got a meeting open. So if you look at room number 2, the room with Vinny in it. It shows I've got Vinny. I'm going to select him. I'm going to drop down. All right. I can join this room itself. I could rename the room if I wanted to. So right now you'll notice it generically assigns room 1, room 2. So let's just say room 1 is our marketing discussion. And room 2 is our operations discussion.
But those, those would be probably something with a law firm specific to a case.
Yeah, and I'm just using our SpliceNet
discovery group. Or
exactly. You could have an HR group, you could have a client, an ethics group, you could have a professionalism group, whatever they might be. Okay. So there's a ton of different, you could make it whatever you want. Let's say let's say I, as the organizer, want to jump in and see what's happening in one of the groups. Let's say I want to see what's going on over in this marketing group. I can click on the ellipses and I can just join right into that room.
Bye, Dave.
And I left the main room, but now you'll notice
Are you in my room?
Into the marketing. You can see the marketing across the top bar. I'm now in the marketing breakout group, and there's Jim.
Yep, you're seeing us through Teams here. I don't want people to get confused. This is the Teams meeting breakout room that you're seeing on the screen right now on Dave's computer.
Let's say I'm done talking to Jim. Okay. Oh, one thing to point out: all of the functions that you have in a large meeting, you have in your breakout rooms. So you can see your breakout room participants. You can have breakout room chat. You've got breakout room emojis and raising hands, and Jim's going to go through some more of those things.
Oh, we're not going to have time, but that's okay, Dave.
Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and skip over and see how things are going in the operations room. I'm going to join the operations room next. So I'll dump out. Goodbye, Jim. Don't need you.
And I don't have my camera on.
That's okay. You'll notice I'm now in the operations room, and there's Vinny's picture since he doesn't have his camera on. Okay. Same thing. Easy, easy, easy. Let's say I don't want to be in here. I leave this. I resume back in the main room. Well, it's still just me. Let's say I want to send a message to all of the breakout groups at once. I have the ability up here to make an announcement. I am closing the breakout rooms in 10 seconds because I like to give people lots of time to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
That, Jim, if people can see your screen somehow, they should see that you should have gotten that announcement in your breakout room. Every single breakout room would have seen that announcement come in.
And I got that through chat as well.
Yep. And so that will go to everyone.
There it is right there.
Yep. And so I don't have to go into each room and tell somebody something. If I need to tell every group, hey, I'm done, or hey, important message, I can communicate something as the organizer to all the rooms at the same time. Once we're done in our breakout rooms, we can close the room. Oh, I wanted to do one thing before I close the rooms. Let's say, Vinny, I want you to leave the room for me. Leave your room.
Now here's a good question, Dave. When he leaves the room, is he leaving the room or the meeting?
You'll see.
Okay. That's a clarification that I wanted.
So
we got another question coming in.
Right now we see Vicente de Valle in meeting. So Vinny, once you dump out, we should see your status change. Not that people generally intentionally leave the meetings, but most times because somebody gets disconnected or something along those lines.
I may have left the whole meeting. I'm not certain. I clicked on leave, and I think I'm
in the breakout room or in the Teams meeting itself.
Well, I clicked on the big red button.
There's two big red buttons, but that's okay. Obviously, Dave, do you see it?
So let me tell you what it would have. What would have had Vinny not messed it all up? No, I'm just
check the attendees, Vinny. Dave.
Let's say somebody loses their connection because we know this happens. Somebody, my internet dropped.
That's what I was
No,
pretending to do.
then somebody says they jump back in. Okay, but now how do I get back in the meeting? It would show that they're not in the meeting anymore. This status would change from in meeting to nothing. And then I could click on the ellipses here and ask to join. And I know it's grayed out because it's not actually active right now. But if Vinny was not in this room, I could ask him to join and it would rejoin him to that room. So that's a real nice feature to know that's there in case somebody loses connectivity or whatnot. Once all's said and done, and this is the other thing that I love most about breakout rooms, when we're all finished, I close the rooms. And guys, do you get any notification on your end?
Well, I'm going to show you what happens on mine. So your room will close in 10 seconds. You will be automatically moved back into the main meeting, and it just does it on its own.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll notice that these rooms are both now closed. Well, one is closed, one is closing. They're both now closed. The breakout rooms are done, and Jim and Vinny are both back in the main meeting, or at least Jim is, because I think Vinny left entirely. So, but
I dropped.
There he is.
There he is.
There he is. So the idea is that it brings everybody else back together in the main meeting. So, I mean, I know that this was a real quick rundown of breakout groups, but hey, that was quick. I could have talked a lot longer. But this is a hugely useful function.
Hugely useful function. Dave, that was great.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's useful for trainings. It's useful for a lot of different things as well within the organization, not only outside of the organization. I know I've used it in meetings, and let's break out into discussions now about this or that, and so that's been a really good tool. Yep.
So, it gives me an idea, actually, guys, on how to do something that we do regularly. We do those cybersecurity trainings for law firms. And so when we get a whole group of people together, you guys are just kind of standing there giving, kind of commenting as I'm presenting or vice versa, right? Maybe when we do this the next time, we can break it out and you guys can present to a half of the group or a third of the group, and I can present to a third, and each, and so on and so forth. Think of the ways we can actually use this are actually pretty cool. So this is a great feature.
It's a really useful tool. It adds a lot of functionality to Teams.
Oh yeah, and this is something that the competitor Zoom has had for a while. Teams just caught up. But, that's okay. I mean, that's how it works, right? So this functionality, it could be great in trials, could be great in mediation. I can think of so many different uses in a law firm. Not to mention how, conducting business, like a company meeting, like we said before. So listen, I think we're going to skip Vinny and my part. Vinny was going to cover, Vinny was going to cover some of the new fun functionality. Like, spotlighting, fit the frame and pinning videos. I was going to cover.
Let's just do another session.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, you know what? That's one of those things that we could just kind of do and post for everyone. We don't have to go live with that. Okay.
Right.
So what we'll do is to catch up on this. By the way, Dave, don't want to diminish what you said already. That was fantastic. I think you did a great job. And thanks for it, But I think for the sake of time, we're trying to end on time, getting a lot of flack from the guys for going over, and I can respect that. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the show off today at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. Dave and Vinny and me, or in some form or fashion, we'll just go ahead and knock out a live stream on those things today, maybe right away. I don't know, Dave. We'll talk about it offline here, and we'll post it up on the No Law Firm Left Behind group, as well as put it on LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook and so on and so forth. So,
and don't get me wrong. I think we got to what we wanted to get to. This was the meat of it all. This was the important part that we wanted to show off.
I'd like to thank Elena and everybody else that watched today. Elena, great questions. We really appreciate those. And by all means, when you see the video, like it for us. I know you're a member of the group, so thanks for being a member of the group. But share it out and make comments. Send everybody else to it. All these are posted. I actually created a channel on YouTube just for our team's videos because they're so popular. So by all means, go to that. I'll also link that in the comments of this video and on LinkedIn as well. So guys, thanks a lot. Great job, Dave. Fantastic job.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, everyone. Have a great week. Talk to you soon.
And everyone else, take
Bye,
care.
everyone. Thanks, James.